How much copper oxide is too much? Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Steph, and if you're new here, you haven't seen me before, I'm a glass user of 12 years. I like to get on YouTube and educate about glass, do fusing videos, things like that. So let's get to the topic at hand, copper oxide. Yes, I keep mine in a jar. So how much is too much? How much is too little? What can you do with a baggie of copper oxide? Do you need this whole thing to make one single heart? Will this do an entire pan of hearts? Do I need to buy more than one bag? Questions, there's a lot of questions like this. As you're probably aware, maybe because I sent you to this video or you're watching it for the first time, I sell copper oxide in these little baggies. This is a 1/2 ounce. I buy it in bulk and part it out, and people buy it who want to give copper oxide a try. I mean, you could, in theory, buy from a ceramics store. There's nothing stopping from you. There are other people to buy from. Copper oxide's copper oxide, but really, how much do you really need? So what I want to do today is answer that question, because my first experience with copper oxide was really funny. And I just spent a few minutes looking and I couldn't find it. But when I was new to fusing, my mom brought me this to show me it's copper oxide. I think the bottom might be a thick layer or cobalt. But she brought me that, and she brings me this baggie. And it's not this baggie. I can't find it. I just came across it the other day. But the baggie is like this. I mean, it's like 2 centimeters square, and it's got like at the thickest it's 1 millimeter thick. She hands me this baggie, she hands me this, and she goes, copper oxide, lifetime supply. We look back on that baggie every time she comes down, because I always manage to find it and wave it at her and go, lifetime supply, eh? Seriously, I buy copper oxide 10-20 pounds at a time now, but for the average fuser, this is a lifetime supply. But I realize for a lot of folks, you don't really know. And so what I want to do today, I know I'm kind of rambling, sorry, I've got a terrible headache. What I'm going to do today is take a dose out of this, and we are going to test how far part of one of these bags will go. So what I'm going to do is measure out a certain amount from here. It's either going to be 1/4 or 1/8 of a teaspoon, depending on how small a measuring spoon I have. I'm going to mix it with an equal amount of original red glass tack. And then I'm going to grab some clear glass, and we are going to start applying. And I'm going to see how far that amount of copper oxide goes before we run out of what's in the container. So if you'll excuse me for just a minute, I'm going to take that phone and that camera, hook it up to this thing, and I'm going to run into the house and grab myself a measuring spoon, and we are going to mix equal parts of this and glass tack in a container and start painting some glass. But give me just a sec. Okay. I have 1-inch graph paper here, and I cut what happens to be roughly, not exactly, but very close, a 6 by 6 inch square. Why 6 by 6? The piece of Tecta I had was 6 inches wide and just under 18 inches long, so I was able to get 3 of them. Otherwise, they would have been whatever the width of the Tecta, and if I'd had a big sheet of Tecta, I would have used 5 by 5s. So pretty much it was a case of what I had on hand. So I have my mixing container. This is a little 2-ounce condiment cup. You can pick them up in any restaurant supply. You can pick them up on Amazon. You could probably, if you can't do either of those things, go to your favorite restaurant and ask them if you could buy 10 of them if you needed them. They're not very hard to get. I have my copper oxide, even though it says a 1/2 ounce. I just loaded it into a jar so I can keep it out here. I have glass tack. I have a paintbrush. This is apparently a number 8. All I know is it's a size I like. Don't mind the working tools. I was working on bird baths. And I have a 1/4 teaspoon Ordinarily, as I shake the camera, ordinarily I would do this with 1/8 of a teaspoon, but I bought the dollar store set of spoons. I was surprised it even came with a 1/4 teaspoon. It's 1/4, a half, a teaspoon, and a tablespoon. So, fun fact, 1 ounce of copper oxide is 1 level tablespoon of copper oxide. So when I am measuring out, when I sell this, I measure out roughly 1.5. I measure out 3 half teaspoons because that's what actually fits in these bags is the half teaspoon. And then I set it on a jeweler's scale that has been tared to take out the weight of the bag and the weight of the label and make sure that it's over 1/2 ounce. Everything I send is at least 0.52 ounces. I aim for closer to 0.55 because I want you to have 1/2 ounce of usable product. But anyway, that's not important to this. This is, you've got copper oxide. I don't care where it came from. You want to know how much you can use. So let's start. We are going to take 1/4 teaspoon. Now I've got it heaping here. What I also have is this little scraper doohickey. So I'm going to scraper it off. Oh look, one nice level teaspoon, 1/4 teaspoon. Put the lid back on my copper oxide. Brush the bit that fell away, and voila, that's 1/4 teaspoon. Coincidentally, a 1/4 teaspoon is also right at 1 gram. So if you're using metric, you're getting approximately 14, 15 grams. So that gives you an idea. 1/4 teaspoon is also 0.07 ounces, so you get roughly 7 of these. It's like 0.072, so you get about 7 of these in your 1/2 ounce baggie if you buy from me. So multiply this by 7, you will know about how far you can go. Now we got our 1/4 teaspoon. We got the goo. Well, this is the runny stuff. It is slightly, you can't see it, and I'm not going to turn it to the side because it'll tilt. It is very slightly doming because of water tension, surface tension, but it's not by a whole lot. It's not enough that it's going to matter. So I'm going to pour that in, and then I'm going to mix, and we will see where we run from there because I may want to add more or wish I'd added less. We'll see. Let's go. Nope, that looks about right. So a 1-to-1 ratio is pretty good. It's thin like thinner than acrylic paint. It drips. Not as thin as milk. But it's pretty good. It's been mixed up. If you were to apply it as thick as it's in the bottom of this container, that's too thick. So let's have a little lesson on application. So let me apply it. This is too thick. If it's totally black, what's going to happen, and I do not, oh, maybe I do? Yes, I have one here to show you. See how this heart has black in it? Or dark, dark blue? That is when it's applied this thick. That means that the copper oxide that was in it did not get enough air to make bubbles. That is undeveloped copper oxide. You can see it's not at the edges because the edges had enough air, but when you get towards the center of this, it's got, it slumped down first probably, and during the bubble squeeze phase, it probably went and trapped in, so you did not get enough oxygen in there. So this is too thick. If you cannot read through it, that is too thick. This is what I consider kind of a medium. That's too thick still, so let's keep going. And notice I didn't dip my brush heavily, I just stirred things up. So, okay, we're getting to where I would say is a better coating. See up here at the top? It's starting to dry out. Of course it's starting to dry out. See here where you can see the lines on the top? It's a medium gray. This is still a bit thick. This is not so bad. You can see the lines. Let's see if we can read it where it says 1-inch graph paper, but it's still kind of fuzzy to read. You can't really see over here as easily. But I can see I know it says 1-inch graph paper, but if I didn't know, I would struggle to read it. And yes, I did waste a little bit putting it on the paper. But honestly, you will waste a touch. There's going to be a touch in the cup. There's going to be a touch on your brush. But yeah, you want this to be kind of a medium gray. You should be able to look through if you've got something underneath it and see it. And speaking of which, me telling you this, I have a PDF with instructions. I'll link it down below. You can get it on a Google Drive. That tells you pretty much how to use copper oxide. If you are international, I'm sorry, the instructions in it are in Fahrenheit. But you can make the conversions pretty easily, I'm sure, with using a Google calculator to be able to work with it in the proper temperatures. I use Freedom units because I'm in the US and most of our kilns run on Fahrenheit. Otherwise, I would have done it in metric. But I have it, and it pretty much walks you through how to use even parts, what is medium thickness, what is good thickness, what is too thin. Like right here is probably too thin because I can very easily read through that. That's probably a bit too thin, but we're going to leave it because this is 36 square inches of copper oxide. Let's keep going. And the reason I have it on graph paper is when we start getting down to the dregs, I want to be able to look in this and see what is considered, you know, what square inches. I'm going to start, when we start getting really low, I'm going to go to an edge and do it square by square. Right now that we've got plenty of oxide, I can just flash it on even too thick. I know, not exciting watching me paintbrush black goop everywhere. But, you know, I'm doing this because right now I've got a bunch of bird baths I have to get through my kiln. My kiln's tied up and we don't actually have to fuse these. I don't have to fuse these for a video. This can just be how much do we have. So that's a fairly heavy one. We'll see how it turns out. I'm probably going to need to get more glass. So that's 36 and 36. That's 72 square inches. That's a lot. And I've still got plenty of goo left. Let's try pushing it to one side. I've still got a lot left. So let's see. I mean, I'm dipping my brush once and covering 6 square inches. So that's 36. So 6 square inches at 2.54. Well, 4 is 10. So these are about 15 centimeters square. So, I mean, you can do the math with that one, 150 and then 75, 225 square centimeters. That's still plenty. 225 square centimeters, we've done 2, so we've got 450, or 72 square inches. And what I'm going to do with these and turn them into dots. I have a jar where I teach at Soul Flags, the nonprofit. And I am going to make sure they have some cool dots to play with. Next month we're doing rainbows and rain clouds, and I think people will want dots for rain clouds. So what I'm going to do is pause the video and go cut some more of these, because I did not anticipate running out so quickly. Okay, I'm back and I'm loaded for bear. Here is 1. Here's 2, 3, and 4. So I don't think we'll need them all. I really don't, but in the event we end up using all of them, well, I am loaded for bear and prepared. So let's keep swiping. So while I'm here, if you're enjoying this video and or if you've gotten something out of it, how about that? If this has been educational to you, will you give me a like? And if you've made something with copper oxide and you're willing to talk about it, will you tell me down below what you've made? I mean, I make bubbles, I make hearts. I've done some other stuff, but that's generally the bulk of mine. Oh, look, I still got plenty left, so I don't know why I'm keeping to the lines. That's 4. So that's 144 square inches. This is 1 square foot. Now keep in mind that no matter who you buy this from, you're going to get plenty. Even if you only buy like 10 grams from somebody, which is, you know, almost a half an ounce. This is only, like, I guess maybe it was 2 grams that it is, but I'll check and put it on the screen. But there, that's number 4. I'm going to have so many bubble dots. It's going to be cool. I can't wait. I love bubble dots. My mom always likes to steal them from me when I give her my jar of cool stuff. I have a jar of dots that are pretty much the odds and ends of everything I'm working with, so all my special production ends up in it. Okay, now we're getting down to the dregs. So let's clear off to 4. All right, so we got 24 square inches here. Easily doing 2, 3. Looks like we can easily do 30 square inches. And very lightly, it looks like we might actually get the full 36. It's good to cut extra squares, now have something to top them with. Okay, so I'm going to call this pretty much spent. It's not quite. But really, that's pretty spent. I mean, at this point, you're going for the dregs. So I would consider this spent. You got your money's worth out of your quarter teaspoon here. And that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-inch square pieces. So you've got 144 plus 36 is 174 plus 6, 180 square inches. All right, to give you a perspective, let me give you a perspective on how much that is. Yeah, move all my stuff. Like I said, I was working on bird baths, so. And that is also why I'm not going to fuse this. I could cut this in half, and I might. And it would be 15 by 12. You can cover an area of 15 by 12 with 1/7 of a bag of this. Okay, folks, if this isn't a lifetime supply, I don't know what is. Because seriously, unless you've decided to copper oxide bubble the Sistine Chapel, I'm really not sure what you're going to need with more than maybe an ounce. I mean, buy as much as you want. Buy it from anybody. Buy a pound from a ceramic supply if you need it. I mean, if you feel you want it, I'm not going to stop you because, like I've said in the past, I'm not your mother. But really, I think for most people, an ounce of this is going to be more than enough. Because this, one of these 6-inch squares is more than enough glass to make a tray of hearts. Because if you cut this into like 1 1/4 inch pieces and then cut them into triangles, you could fill, I mean, you could do like 2 trays of hearts with one of these. And you can do a 15 by 10. You could even do a plate that's 12 inches of bubbles if you wanted, and a tray of hearts, and still have 6 parts left over in this. You could, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not doing the math, but if it's a foot tall, you could do something 7 feet tall and 15 inches wide, or 3.5 feet tall and 30 inches wide. So you almost get a square yard's worth out of this. And if you didn't apply it this thick, if you diluted it down even a bit further, you probably could cover nearly a square yard with this. That's a lot of glass, folks. That is a lot to cover. You buy an ounce, you definitely can cover a square yard. You bought an ounce, you could definitely, I mean, honestly, with an ounce, you could almost cover one of the big sheets of Tecta that Bullseye sells at 24 by 48. No, I'm not painting an entire sheet of Tecta to show you. This came off a sheet. But this is a ridiculous amount of glass. So yeah, I mean, honestly, if you're thinking I need four baggies because I need 2 ounces, I'm going to run out. Or I really need to go to the ceramic supply and buy a pound right off the bat, and I'm not sure if I'm going to like it, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to use it. I recommend that if you're going to buy a pound, find 2 or 3 glass friends and go in. Buy the pound, split it up, and split it among yourselves. because honestly, this, I don't go through this in a year, and I make and sell like 300 bubble hearts a year, and this isn't even anywhere near what I'd go through in a year. So yeah, that's the end result of Bubbling 101 and how far it covers. I'm going to slap a lid on these, like that, and then what I'm going to do is tack fuse them. And I'm going to cut them and turn them into bubble dots because I don't have the patience to full fuse them and try and cut through a 6-inch sheet that way. I'm going to score them, break them, and then full fuse them. But if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more from me, by all means hit the subscribe button. If not, that's cool. But while I'm on here blathering on, it should probably pop up a video you might like to watch next. And it's probably all about copper oxide dots, which are a whole bunch of fun to make. As always, thanks for watching, and may the kiln gods bless your fusings.